lies, manipulation, buffoonery, all that and more on today's episode of the Meditative Monday. That's right, folks. Today we're talking about you and why you should pay money for meditation tuition. There seems to be a very strange idea floating about the internet where people think that meditation teachers should not be reimbursed or compensated for their efforts. It seems to me that people just want meditation for free, and meditation has never been given for free, and you can actually demonstrate this. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, the man of Transcendental Meditation, and we always go after the TM guys because they're the biggest boys, they're worth billions of dollars, and they can damn well take the hit. So Maharishi Mahesh Yogi did not just assimilate his knowledge from the air. He learned it from Guru Dev. He spent many of his years as an accountant working for Guru Dev. And that's where Maharishi came up with the idea for making meditation into a business and taking the word of Guru Dev to America and beyond. Now, if you Google or put into YouTube, learn Transcendental Meditation, on YouTube specifically, after the first couple of adverts for the TM organisation, you will see a video with a bald-headed fellow who seems to be genuinely nice, genuinely interested in doing good in the world, but manages to mess it up entirely by not doing his research and not spouting the truths about the history of Transcendental Meditation. So I want to make that perfectly clear. Like, this guy is trying to do something good, but what he ends up doing is providing an example as to why you should never ever learn from somebody like that, who's willing to give it all away for free, says it's super simple, condenses it all into 2 minutes and says, right, on you go, that's you, you're fine, you can do it now. They might be able to do meditation, they might be able to learn a little bit from that, but they're not going to get the full thing, and there's a good reason for that we'll get into a little bit further down the road. So we'll go through what I can remember of his points. So, and then we'll discuss whether that's legitimate or not. So he genuinely believes that Transcendental Meditation is a Buddhist thing, which is really weird because he spends the rest of the day talking about Sanskrit. So Buddhists have nothing to do with Transcendental Meditation. It's Indian. It's always been Indian. It's called Vedic meditation. And you must be sick of me saying this, but it's like 7,000 years old. It's ridiculous. And that he doesn't know this is indicative of why you shouldn't go to people like that for meditation tuition, because we'll go into the next one, like why you should always get meditation for free. Nobody should ever pay for it. People pay for things all the time. Maharishi learned to meditate through Guru Dev by being an accountant in his ashram, by doing work. No money exchanged hands, but they used the barter system, which is the oldest form of economy, to trade that spiritual knowledge. There's no difference between money and bartering, not fundamentally. He uses this idea as saying, like, oh yeah, when I went to learn, it was so much money, and God, it was tons of money, and oh, it was too much. And you know what? I actually agree with him on this. Transcendental meditation does cost too much. It's extraordinarily expensive, and the only reason I got it was because I was fortunate enough to have a parent, and my father, who was invested in seeing me get well. And I think that's a major problem. This is why I took a third of the TM price point and said, that's the limit. I think that's the limit the market can bear, and I think that's the limit that anyone should pay for this. I used to charge 30, but I changed it to 50 because, well, it wasn't really feasible for me to make a living through it. And if I can't make a living through it, I cannot teach. If I can't spare the time, through the fact that I have to work a job, I have to travel to the job, I have to make sure that I'm taking care of myself while I'm working there, then I would have no time to teach, and I certainly wouldn't have the energy to teach as many people as I would like to teach. Now, you guys who listen to this or who read my blog or anything, you all know that useful meditation isn't one technique, it's several techniques fused together in very particular ways, and you can't teach that on a video. You can't teach that from a book. You can't teach that through an audio recording like I'm doing now. Or otherwise I would. It would be so easy just to put a video up that said, this is how you meditate. There you go, guys. I've made the world a better place, and walk away. But that's not how this works. Now, there's much more to do with this. So he goes on saying, the mantras are all made up, which there's an element of truth to that. But he also says that you should use 3-syllable mantras, which is incorrect. It's categorically incorrect. And I'm pretty sure there's been studies proving that the 3-syllable mantras really only work for older people, which is what this gentleman is, which is why he's recommending 3. So this is, again, he's recommending it through his personal dogma, not through scientific fact. There's no basis for him to say this other than what he feels is right. Now, what the science says is that Sanskrit mantras, like the ones he's saying you should use, are really quite ineffectual. The practitioner should use a mantra that's in their own language. And the reason that is because you've heard these words so many times in your life that to make them meaningless is actually very simple. And that's the trick, is making the word meaningless. If you're having trouble with a particular syllable in your mantra because it reminds you of something, the trick isn't to switch mantras. The trick is to keep going with that mantra until it becomes completely meaningless. And you can do this in a number of ways that we won't go into here, but you can do it in real life, or you can do it within the meditation. It's all up to you. However, it seems to me that the more appropriate thing to do would be to marry your mantra to the breath. And you do that not with 3 syllables, but with 2. And if you're marrying your mantra to the breath, you get deeper. And this is the thing. He's not teaching you how to get deeper. He's just going, this is a technique, away you go, have fun, which is fine. That's a perfectly reasonable thing to do. However, I would say that this causes a lot of problems in terms of obfuscation of the technique. He says that you just do this, you just repeat the mantra, and that's it. And it's not as simple as that. It's not as cut and dry as that. It actually is more like you repeat the mantra to the point where thoughts evaporate. And once the thoughts evaporate, there will be a peaceful moment. And then you can return to the mantra after thoughts appear. Now, we can't stay in the state of bliss forever. We're not allowed. We don't know why. This is it, right? He seems to believe that Transcendental Meditation is actually a technique. It's not. Transcendental Meditation is a philosophy based on a sort of clumsy marriage between science and Hinduism. It's not really a technique. The technique is Vedic meditation. That's the old way. The new way is Transcendental Meditation. It was invented in the 50s, the late 50s, as Maharishi decided to market it like a McDonald's product. He gave it this huge name, a hugely bombastic name that reflected how he wanted his meditation to be conceived of, which is perfectly understandable. Why should you pay for meditation? Lots of reasons, and we'll get into them right now. So the first reason is quality of tuition. If the tuition is not of a good quality, you will not understand what you're trying to do, which is unfortunately the result of something as sort of stripped down as that gentleman was trying to make the technique. It's a little more complex than that. Not much more, but it's a little more. Secondly, you are not getting the experience of meditating with an experienced practitioner in the same room. Now, there's a socio-psychological effect that goes on there between those two people where the process of meditation is deeper. Norman E. Rosenthal's book, Transcendence, goes into this. There's something about meditating in groups that makes meditation infinitely more powerful. And your first experience of meditation should be as powerful as humanly possible. It should be the most profound experience of your life. And if it's not, then you've got some work to do. Or the teacher has not really fulfilled their promise properly. It's one or the other. Now, generally what happens is once people meditate with me for the first time, they go back home and they go, God, this isn't as deep as it was with you. And I'm like, well, that can't be helped. Number one, you were piggybacking on my aura, if that's an appropriate word to use here, my presence within the room, perhaps is a better thing to say. So you were feeding off me and how I was feeling. Because when I meditate, with a student, I pretend that it's mine, that it's my meditation, that it's my time of day for me, and I go as deep as I can humanly get. And then they get that as well. Many times I've sat with a student and just went into the deepest part of the meditation, and we've come out of it and they've said, I noticed you going deeper. There was a moment where I could sense that you were just, boom, that there was a sound with your breathing that just sounded like you went so deep, so quick. And you don't get that experience if you're doing it alone in a room. When you're trying to do it alone in a room, even if you're learning it from a video, you're going to be sitting there going, am I doing this right? Is this appropriate? Is this like the result? Am I supposed to be feeling this? And how is that a good way to start a meditation practice? There's a term in psychonautics called set and setting. Now, set is the condition of your brain, what you're thinking at the time. Setting is setting, it's the room you're doing it in, it's the ambience of the room, it's the smell of the room, it's the temperature, it's all of this stuff that blends in together to create an experience. And the experience is so important. It's so much more important than many of these people who say, I can teach you meditation online and that meditation should always be free, can ever give you, because they're never going to see you, they're never going to meet you, and quite frankly, they don't really care that much about you and your journey. They're saying, here's the technique, on you go, have fun. While I do that to a certain degree, I always say to my students, anytime you want, I don't care what time it is, I don't care what day it is, you call me. If there's the slightest problem with your meditation, or you don't feel like you're getting it, please call me and I will work with you and I will talk to you, I'll work it through, and we'll make sure you get back on track. That's what a teacher should do. A teacher shouldn't provide a bunch of dogma about Sanskrit being appropriate and the Om should always be the end of your mantra. That's you showing what you've developed that works for you. That's not scientific. It's not the way to approach teaching someone else. It's idiosyncratic is what it is. Let them develop their idiosyncrasies. Don't pass on yours. Pass the vanilla version of the technique and they can go do what they do. It's people that do, when people do this, they corrupt the quality of the meditation. They don't go, this is this technique, this is what it is, and this is where you can learn it, and this is where you go with it. They don't do that. They mix it with their own crap and their own rubbish, and they present this version of the meditation that's not appropriate to be taught. It's a corruption's the right word. So when you're presented with the option of learning to meditate, please don't learn from a book, or please don't learn from a video on YouTube or an app. Come on, apps, for God's sake, what is this? I get that people get something out of the apps. I do. I truly understand that. And that mindfulness can be wonderful. But when you can meditate autonomously, you have a whole new world at your feet. And being plugged into your phone means you have to find your headphones, you need to make sure your phone's charged, you need to turn off your notifications. For me to transcend now, I just close my eyes and I'm there. I have that at my fingertips whenever I want, and it's because I've been meditating for 4 straight years. Somewhere in the region of 3,500 times. So listen to somebody that, I don't even want you to come to me. Like, if you want to come to me, brilliant. Just find a bloody teacher. Don't listen to these buffoons. But make sure what you get from them is scientific and not dogmatic. That's where we go from here. We don't listen to what other people think meditation should be. We get techniques, we look at techniques, and we look at them in a tableau, and we assimilate the ones we like, and we jettison the ones we don't. And that's for the individual to decide, not for somebody to tell you what they think is best. Anyway, folks, I'm sorry I ranted so, I never really want to make many of these ranty videos, but when you're faced with this, like, you shouldn't be earning a living from what you do, that really pisses me off, to be honest, because I have created a product that I believe in, that is truly life-defining, and then people tell me I can't do anything with it. I have to teach it for free. And it's like, well, I can't live like that. I need to feed, clothe myself, and pay my bloody council tax, you know? Just like anybody else. But anyway, folks, I love y'all. Thank you so much for making it through 15 to 16 minutes of me yattering on about stuff I'm pissed off about, because it's Monday morning, I got my coffee and I'm doing my best Garfield impression. All the best, folks. I love you all greatly.